Hello everyone, welcome to Ida's Tailoring. I've been wanting to make this video for some time now. I'm gonna show you step by step how to take in waist on a pair of jeans. So let's go! This is the jeans that I need to take in the waist, and as you can see, I have it pinned already. So I'm gonna take my chalk and I'm gonna mark all those pins. And to be honest, you don't need to mark it outside. But for some reason that gives me confidence. What you really need to do is to mark those pins inside. As you can see, I make sure to pull very well the material, so I make sure that the marks will be exactly in the right spot. So my marks are all done, and now I'm gonna remove my pins. I always use a T-pin for the waistband and regular pins for the rest. And this is what I see, and I'm gonna measure how much I need to take in the waist. So I see that I need to take in 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna write that down so I won't forget. Sometimes you can forget. I'm gonna start by removing the belt loop. As you can see, they are sewn with a very strong zigzag tag. What I do to open it easily is to take my blades, and I'm going very slowly, shaving a little bit on top and mostly inside. I used to have a boss that hated when I did it on top because she was afraid that I can rip the material. So take that into account. So better do it inside than do it just outside. And I go softly until it pop out. And I'm gonna right away secure that belt loop with a safety pin close to the pocket or wherever, it doesn't matter. Now I can start opening my waistband. You need to open as much as you need to remove, but as well a little bit more, just to have a space to work with. So I'm kind of insert my blade there to break the chain stitch, and after I just need to pull the thread up. Easy, right? I'm gonna cut one of the sides and gonna leave the other just in case. And that's it. My waistband is open. Now is the time to open the flatfell. And I'm gonna turn my pants inside out so it will be a little bit easier to work with. So I'm gonna start opening the chain stitch at the edge of the flatfell, and this you can do it in a lot of ways. You can open 3 stitches at the back and then pull the thread on the top, or you can just insert your seam ripper and just pull it down, or do what I did before, which is just try to open a little bit with the blades and then pull up the thread. When the jeans are new, it's way easier, but after the jean has been used, they get a little bit entangled and it's a little bit trickier to do that. I always receive the question, how much do I have to open? And you do whatever you want, but I myself prefer to go a little low with the seat of the pants. That way you don't see the connection of the stitches. For my next step, I wanted to remind you what is the flatfell stitch. I have done videos about it before, so you can just take a look at them. But let me remind you something. So if I open that stitch, the one that is at the edge as I did before, it gets kind of, like a still holding. So what I'm gonna do is to pin this seam allowance of this flatfell just to secure it in place, because I don't know if you remember when we were talking about the flatfell in another video, that if you open both of the chain stitch and then just leave it like that, what it will happen is that you will have 2 fabrics that can just move, and then to accommodate that back and not losing the symmetry will be a nightmare. So pretty much, because you want to keep it the way it is, you just pin it first and then you can open the other chain stitch. And this is how you do a great job keeping the symmetry in your jeans. So I'm removing my thread, but I won't cut them yet, just in case. So this is what I have, and I have the pins of my marks. So I'm checking my pins, and as you can see, when they are very close to the flat fell, you can see they both pin together, but they are at each side of the left seam of the flat fell. What I'm gonna do is to balance those pins. So I'm pinning in one side, and then I check where it falls at the other side. And I've been looking because they are falling in the same place, but if they were in a different place, I will just go in between. So remember that I need to take in 1.5 inches, and if I divided that by 2, will be 3/4 of the inch. So I'm gonna mark 3/4 of the inch from the left stitch of the flat fell, and then I'm gonna accommodate a little bit my pants. I can trace a line through all those marks that I already did. Depends of the body of the customer. You might need a straight ruler, but sometimes you might need a curved ruler. Basically, what you need to do is to connect those points. In this case, I just needed like a straight stitch, and as you can see, I connect perfectly all the points that were at the top, but one at the bottom was missing. And it has a lot of sense because remember, we have two lines, the original lines and the new one, and I have to connect it in somehow and make it just one line, right? So I'm gonna go from the bottom part of the original line and try to go, and as you can see, it goes through the point that I didn't connect, and you see it's all a very nice line. So now is the difficult part. We are going to try to find a matching thread. It doesn't matter how many threads you have, it's so difficult sometimes. But today I got the same color, so I won't have any problem. To sew the back seam with the flat fell, I'm gonna start with the line of the yoke, because it's so thick that very often when you connect those lines, it's not really good or nice. So what I do, I sew first that little part. So I pin it on top and at the bottom, as you can see, and then I go to my sewing machine, and with the foot lift, I drop the needle first, and then I drop the foot. And then I go a little back, and I'm doing everything by hand, and then I go front just until I finish that flat fell, and then I'm gonna check if it's good or not, and it's very good, so I don't have to do it again, so I can sew now the rest of my seam. As you can see, I'm pinning that because I don't know, I feel more confident, and I just sew once. And when you have to connect, this is a question that everybody asks me, how do you connect? No, you don't connect that. You sew until approximately 1/2 inch or so, because the flat fell will connect itself when you do the top stitch. You see, I'm leaving that part, and when you go at the top, let me show you. So I'm gonna put a pin at the top, will be my top stitch there, and as you can see, you see, this is what will connect with the original stitch. So you never connect with that first stitch. Okay, so now I can safely remove my pins, and my next part is how to finish that seam. You can do it in two ways. You can cut a little bit of the excess of material, and then you can serge that and do a full flat fell, and it will be okay. Or you can repeat your flat fell. In my case, I repeat my flat fell, but I don't cut all the material. I leave a little bit more material than it was before, because I feel like if my customer gain a little bit of weight, or my customer find that I took too much or whatever, I can still loosen up a little bit. If I cut everything, then I won't be able to fix that problem. So as you can see, I am folding, and then instead of just ironing as I do in other videos, I'm gonna make a stitch. Sorry, I didn't record that, but I make the stitch with the folding, which make my job with the top stitch way easier. Now it's just a matter of make it flat and then a stitch on top. So pretty much here I'm gonna stitch. I'm making sure that everything is in place, and I do my first top stitch for my flat fell until I connect with the first stitch, with the original one. And now I'm gonna do my second stitch, and I'm gonna use the width of the foot as a guide to make my second stitch. And this is what I have until now. As you can see, we have like a little bit too wide flat fell, and customers like that. They love it. Now we are gonna work with the waistband. And the way I do, I make a little mark in between the flat fell, and then I'm gonna stretch out a little bit the waistband and mark in between the flat fell, and then I'm gonna stretch out to the other side the waistband and make a mark. So I have the two marks, and to find the center between this mark will be the center of the waistband, so I can cut safely my waistband there. Some of my colleagues prefer to cut the waistband at the beginning. You can do that, but in this way you make sure that the center of your waistband will fall exactly where you want. So I open my waistband, and remember I needed to take in 1.5 inches divided by 2 is 3/4. So I'm marking those 3/4. I'm gonna mark it inside and outside, and then I'm gonna do the same mark on the lining of my waistband. So I have my 4 pieces, and I'm gonna sew 2 and 2, so the top with the top and the lining with the lining. And I'm gonna make sure to align very well together the original stitches and as well the creases of the waistband. That way my job will look way more beautiful. You know, we have the tendency to just sew, but if we do that, then everything falls in place. This is one of the little details that if you have into account, you will get a great job. So I'm gonna sew where my mark is. This is why I told you that you have to mark inside as well. So I have my first stitch, and then I'm gonna sew the inside part of the waistband. And I'm checking that everything more or less it falls in line. And the second crucial step is to iron those waistbands. Remember that they had a crease that it was in one side, and now they have the crease that has to go to the other side. This is why it's so important to press that with the right crease. And right now, because I have just a seam allowance of 3/4 inch, I'm not cutting anything, but let's say that my seam allowance is more than 1 inch, I will reduce that seam allowance to at least 1 inch. I don't make it more than that. Still at 1 inch, you can let out a lot, like a 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches or so. So, you know, you won't make a mistake that big, right? So I am making sure that all the creases are pressed in the right spot, and then it will be so easy for me to go to my sewing machine and sew back this waistband. I'm going to start by sewing the top part of the waistband, and then I'm going to make sure that all the fabric is tucked in, is everything well accommodated. Remember the trick of the button that level the foot of your machine so you can sew easily this thick part. And my waistband is done, cutting all the excess of the thread, and I can take my belt loop that was safe and I can put it back. The belt loop is the trickiest part because it's so thick. I use my button and I go and I crank by hand the machine, and then I go back and forth around 3 times, and my belt loop is secure. And then I saw the other side, and here you go. The waistband is taken, and you see inside the flatfell, and then outside it looks pretty good. And you see what I told you, that I wanted a long line, because when the customer wear, you don't see anything. The union part is so down that, unless she's making some moves, you won't see it. So guys, that was all for today. If you find this video useful or entertaining, please give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe, share, comment. Bye!